Hey, what's happening? This is Chris Kontos from the Boneless Ones, and you're listening to Nothing Shocking Podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Chris Kontos of the Boneless Ones.
Formerly of Machine Head. The Boneless Ones recently released their newest album called Back to the Grind. It's the original band from the 80s.
Yeah.
It's that Bay Area thrash sound.
I think they had some songs they got together and they're like, let's do a whole album.
Yep, they absolutely did. So, hey, let's get to that interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Chris, welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'd like to introduce to you my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Chris, thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Good to be talking to you guys.
So you became highly regarded as an interview guest by Orion Salazar. He said, we got to get Chris Kontos on. So we're like, hey, sounds good to me. So that's why I summoned you a couple months back.
Right. Oh, my sweet buddy Orion. I just love him, man. Such a joy to play with him. Me and him got to finally play together in my Led Zeppelin tribute band, Custard Pie.
Oh, cool.
And it was awesome. Just awesome. Love that guy.
Well, fantastic. Well, so the Boneless Ones released their new album, Back to the Grind, back in May. Can you talk?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about the writing and recording process of this new album?
Yeah, so we were a band in '86. We broke up for 35 years. Unfortunately, one of our guitar players, our original guitar player, passed away, and that kind of got us all on the phone again. And we're like, oh, man, you know, and there were 4 songs that were never properly recorded from back then. And the idea was to just kind of bone up those songs, no pun intended, and you know, get those and record those. So we got a couple different guitar players here and there, and it just really wasn't hitting the mark. Our guitar player, Luke, that passed away, he was one of Joe Satriani's first 10 students.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
So he was over-skilled. It was actually like a tongue-in-cheek thing about the band. It was like, wow, this guy is way too good to be in this kitschy skate rock band. He had all the tricks. So we couldn't find a guitar player that was capturing that. So I reached out to my buddy Craig LaCicero from Forbidden, Man-Made God. I played in Spiral Arms with him. And I said, would you be into recording these 4 songs? And he was over enthusiastic and came out of the box and wrote 8 songs.
Oh, wow.
Because he had never been able to like really show his more punk, hardcore, skate rock kind of vibe with the bands that he had been in. And so he was just inspired, and we were like, wow, we have a full album. So what we did was that we here at my house in my little home studio, I was playing on the electric drums. They were going straight into the computer. And we had the guitars into the computer, and we did all our pre-production here, and it just sounded amazing. And we were like, wow, okay, now we've really got to go and record this stuff properly. And we went into Shark Bite Studios here in Oakland, and we used Zach Oren to record. We recorded the songs over 5 days. And then the product that we left from there was just, it blew away our expectations. And so we reached out to our good friend Matt Weiniger, who is famous for doing a lot of Bay Area bands. He recently won a Grammy with Fantastic Negrito, and he fell in love with the record and just mixed the absolute hell out of it. And it's doing really good. We've sold out of our first pressing. We decided to start our own record label because we kind of hit that mark. You know, well, what can a record label do for us in 2022 that we can't do for ourselves? And, things have been going great. Our bass player is a Hollywood editor. And he's been able to slip the Boneless Ones into movies over the years. The Bounty Hunter with Jennifer Aniston. And we're the music for the band Loaded Diaper.
Oh, yeah.
In Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It's actually the Boneless One's music. So that kind of kept the legacy going. And since we've recorded, we've now been put into an HBO kind of Adult Swim cartoon called Dead Boys Detective Agency. And that's going to come out in the fall. And we're in a great new skateboard documentary called What's the Rush? So it's popping on all levels, and we're thrilled. We're just so thrilled.
So cool. The band seemed to have released Back to the Grind at the perfect time, tail end of spring, and the COVID mitigations kind of ending, but we're kind of seeing them come back again, whatever that is. Was that the idea for the release, is to kind of like wait things out, get close to summertime, wait for these COVID restrictions to take a hike? How did it work out for you and the rest of the band?
I wouldn't say it was exactly planned, but as it was moving in that direction, we were cognizant that, like, wow, this is going to hit at a great moment as we're all bouncing back and things are starting to lighten up. And, nothing for nothing, the record is, our motto is keep the fun fun. We do have a couple serious tracks on there, but mostly it is just about grip it and rip it, have a good time. And that's the feedback we're getting is like you said, people are like, oh, this record just makes me smile, or man, I have such a great time listening to this. It's perfect timing. I needed this, with the melodrama and all the, the world's events and just everything going the way it is. It seemed to have hit at a perfect time, like you said. So it wasn't exactly planned, but boy, it really did hit at the right time.
It absolutely did.
Yeah, I was working out today, and I listened to it while I was working out, and it was made my day.
Awesome, man. That's great. That is great.
My son was a big fan of the Diary of the Wimpy Kids movies. Can you talk a little bit more about that process, how you guys got involved with being the backing band?
Yeah, so at the time we were broken up still, and Troy has just always because of the the movies that he does and his process of kind of slipping music in. I don't know too much about that process of how he pulled that off, but I guess the director just loved the approach and the vocals and just the way it was going. So when Troy kind of said, "Hey, I've got some music if you want to, use it." And it just worked out. It's so funny because we hear all these stories of these, older skaters and rockers, they'll be in the kitchen making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for their kids watching Diary. and they'll come in and they're like, wait a minute, that's the Boneless Ones. And they're like, no, Dad, that's Loaded Diaper. Yeah. And then they have to explain to their kids, no, that music. And they're like, you don't know those guys. Like, so, that's been really, really funny. And then, over time, somebody called me and I didn't even know that the Boneless Ones was in this tattoo parlor scene in the Bounty Hunter. And my friend, and this was some years ago, said, dude, I think I just heard we're going to give it to you in a Jennifer Aniston movie called The Bounty Hunter. So I popped it on, and I'm like, whoa, there it is. Troy's first work was on Tales from the Crypt on HBO.
Oh, cool.
And when the Boneless Ones broke up, myself and Troy and Luke went on to another band called Hell's Kitchen. And he was able to get not only the music in like a scene on that show, but it was a prominent like part of the scene where a guy downstairs was cranking music. The neighbor upstairs was freaking out about it. And they get in this big argument about the music being too loud. So that was kind of like, I think was a bell mark for Troy. Like, wow, I can really do this and keep the legacy going. And that's just been something that's kind of special for the band over the years.
Well, how cool is that?
For the Boneless Ones, will this be a one-off record, or do you guys plan on doing any more?
Yeah, we kind of talked about that. Like I said, it kind of mushroom clouded in our face a little bit. And the reverence and the legacy and stuff, and we're doing really well on merchandise. We were able to secure a skateboard wheel deal with Spitfire, which is like, I'm a BMX guy. I race BMX. Craig is also from that world of BMX. But for Troy and Max, to have a skateboard wheel is like so special for them. And we've been blowing out our skateboard decks. That's one of our highest selling items. And just all the old merchandise mixed with the new merchandise that we're doing. Max owns a pretty successful merch company. So it's all, DIY and kind of still in that format, which is great. And so, yeah, we've been talking. We probably will do a follow-up.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, the Boneless One's first album was released in 1986. After all these years later, how do you compare and contrast the writing style and recording style that you guys once had when you were kids opposed to now in the present?
Right. Well, a huge focus for us was definitely, for one thing, stay on brand, right? Troy is a great bass player, but he had not touched his bass in 29 years. And for Max, he's a great lyricist, storyteller, but again, hadn't been in music for 30 years. And so the big focus for me was like, we've got to stay on brand. Like I was talking about earlier with like the guitar work, it still has to stay skilled with the hammer-ons and the bar tricks and, all that stuff, the guitar solos and stuff. But we did add a little bit more thrash element, and that's kind of coming from my metal background and hardcore background, and Craig definitely is more of a thrash-toned guy. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to stay super crisp with the lyrics, because that's something that's great about that first album. You can hear every lyric. So we wanted to make sure that we captured Max. And but the process back then, you just don't know it's happening while it's happening, and I think there's something, about the Bay Area, perhaps New York, LA. We were all so young, and, you look back and you're like, wow, we kind of really had it together for being such party animals or just going off, but it was just flowing out of us. So we wanted to capture that as well, like that first boner riff, I call it, like stay the course with that. Not too many parts. Don't try to be too smart about it. My approach with the drums, I said the whole time, I want the drumming on this album to be very air drummable. I want the listener to be able to play this thing on their steering wheel.
Yeah.
So I I'm not going to say dumbed down but I wanted to create more space. I wanted to keep it real Clubber Lang, just real in your face, simplistic, not, math metal. Because, with other bands I've been in, Machine Head and stuff, I've really twisted my own arm to do some, some complicated drumming, but with this, I wanted to keep it real rock and roll. Even if we're playing fast, keep it real, on brand with that first album. And with that as a beacon, we kind of followed that course, used that as our formula. And I think we kind of did that with the, the thrash, the rock, and then the skate rock elements. We call ourselves a crossover band, with the rock, the punk, and the metal. So yeah, we feel kind of lucky that we weren't, going outside the box, trying to be too complicated. That happens a lot.
It does.
Chrissy Hine from the Pretenders, great quote from her from way back was, the better musician you are, the less punk you are. Right?
Yeah.
And because your skill set comes up, you've kind of drifted away from the 3-chord pile up, and you end up kind of being too good. So we wanted to maintain that edge, and I think we were I'd like to say we're pretty successful with doing that.
I think you guys are spot on.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your current drum kit? What you play? Do you have a small set, a big, large set that completely surrounds you? Tell us a little bit about how it works for you.
When I play metal, I use a big drum set. 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, double bass, snare. I'm a big fan of cymbals. Those are my voices.
Nice.
So, with the boneless ones, I use my Yamaha Beechwood, and I got this kit in 2003, and I was able to actually have Yamaha custom cut the shells for me. And so my first rack tom is a 12 by 14. My second tom is a 14 by 16. My floor tom is a 16 by 18, then 18 by 18, and I have a 24-inch kick by 20. So it is a big bam boom kind of drum set. So it's kind of a John Bonham kind of setup for this. My toms are on snare stands. I play the offset kick drum with a freestanding kick. And, with the Beechwood, Yamahas are known to be the recording kit. They're very warm, kind of immaculate, shell tone, but they don't really project. And because I play so many live gigs and so much stuff, I wanted something that I could definitely bring in the studio, but then I wanted to be really loud. I'm a total pounder, caveman drummer. So, this Beechwood is just loud because it's a thin 9-ply kit. And so they discontinued this kit for some reason after. I guess maybe it didn't give people enough of the warmth or whatever in the studio, so it just kind of failed for them. But I feel really lucky that I've been able to keep this kit in great condition ever since then. So yeah, that's my kit. It's got that Ian Pace silver sparkle
so cool
vibe, and I love it. It's got the shells. They don't have traditional hardware on them. It's like it's a peg, and the lug actually stays on the rim. So you just fasten the lug onto the peg coming out of the drum. So there's not a lot of shell obstruction. Not a lot of screws and stuff fastening down to the drum and pulling on the drum from every direction. So I think that's another reason why it really projects and sings, is because it's not buckled down, Oh,
fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, we've asked guitarists and bass players before, they have an extensive collection, but how does it work for a drummer? Do you collect sets? Do you still have like your first set, or do you just keep it down to what you're currently playing with?
I made the mistake decades ago selling my first kit to a guy, and like 4 years ago, this dude called me and said, dude, that drum set has been sitting in my garage. My kid played it for some years, but man, it's just in the way. Would you like it back? And I was like, oh, sure, I'd love to buy it back. He goes, nah, man, that money is nominal at this point. I just want to bring it over and get it out of my way, but also let's get your first kit back. So I have that.
Oh, cool.
And then I have the Machine Head kit that I, recorded and toured with pretty extensively. But I'm not like an avid collector. I have a couple choice snares. I've got a 71 copper. What's basically the snare that turned into the Black Beauty. Ludwig snare, really nice. And then I've got a Dangerous Ockeltree, which is a drum company out of Chicago. Jeff Ockeltree was actually John Bonham's drum tech for a while.
Yes.
And he started making snares, and the snare that I have is a 38-pound carbon steel drum, and it was milled out of a giant square of carbon steel. And that thing is just a banger, super sensitive. Then I've got a Chad Smith Pearl snare that I really like to use on rock stuff because I can tune it real wet, but it's still very sensitive. But yeah, I'm not one of these wall of warehouse full of drums kind of guys, know?
Absolutely.
Well, I was just curious. One last drum question. The drum solos, some drummers absolutely love them and some just despise them. Where do you stand?
So, never did drum solos. I kind of felt like, what the heck? I'm playing a drum solo on every song kind of thing.
Yeah.
When I got back in Machine Head for the 25th anniversary tour in 2019, Rob said, there was 3 major things. We play to a click. We play to a click live. It was basically 4 things. And we use in-ears. There's no on-stage monitors. It's all in-ear. Mm-hmm. Those are all things I've never done before. And the last was, you got to do a drum solo. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, the kids love it. It seems to work for us. We don't, you can keep it short. And I was like, okay. I was kind of reluctant, but it is their show, and I was coming back. So we have a song called The Rage to Overcome, and it starts with a pretty long drum intro on the toms, very tribal, kind of rolling double bass kind of intro. So I said to myself, okay, so if I write a solo that is based on getting into that song with the flavors of kind of what's going to happen with the intro to that song, I'd be cool with it. And I ended up kind of enjoying it, I kind of fell into a thing where I kind of sold out to it. The kids responded. I wanted it to be very, not the slow to fast thing and, the generic kind of thing. I wanted it to be real interactive with the crowd, get the crowd clapping along. And then something that I added to it, it's kind of sad, but also kind of an homage, was we were on tour and Neil Peart passed away.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I starting the tour with the bells from YYZ. And then about halfway through, we would go into that big volley from Tom Sawyer.
Oh, cool.
So I would be doing my drum solo, and then I would just stop, and then we would count in, and we'd do the da-da, da-da, da-da-da-da-da, and we'd do that, and then I'd stand up, pound my chest and, point up at the sky, Neil was a huge influence on me, and, I got to do that actually in Toronto, and I'm not going to lie, I got really emotional during that solo because, we're in Toronto. It had just happened, and I could see that the kids and the fans super appreciated it. And so, yeah, I've kind of fallen into that. I'm not doing drum solos in the Boneless Ones. because we kind of do that 45 minutes to 50 minute, kind of just keep it pounding. But for the Machine Head tour, it was actually a lot of fun to do.
Oh, so cool.
Nice.
Kind of switch things up on you here. You'll be traveling to Holland in August with the Interthrashional All-Star Band. You'll be performing at the Dynamo Metal Festival. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about this opportunity? How did it all come about for you?
So this is Craig LaCicero's brainchild. He put this together actually like 3 years ago, the idea, and then he actually had it booked 2 years ago, but, the pandemic kind of crushed that.
Yeah.
So we've had these plane tickets for 2 years, and his idea was to get a bunch of musicians together. You can't play a song from a band that you've actually been in. So, right, so like Craig can't play on Forbidden stuff. I can't play on Testament stuff. Will Carroll can't play on Death Angel stuff. So that's kind of one of the rules and the parameters. And what it is basically is it's a raising of the glass and a tilt of the hat to the Bay Area thrash moment coming basically out of Ruthie's Inn. We're only performing Metallica, Testament, Death Angel, Slayer, Megadeth. Did I throw in Metallica already? Violence, and so those are the 6 bands that we're performing songs from. And there's a core group of people in the band: myself, Mark Hernandez, Mike DeLon, who played with MOD, and Phil Anselmo and the Illegals, Matt Camacho on bass, Harold O, our famous photographer, bass player here from town. We're the core of the band, and Craig. And then what we do is we have all these guest singers coming in. Mark Osageda, Randy Blythe from Lamb of God. We have Schmier from Destruction, George Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse, a myriad of different guitar players coming up. And we're just going to grind through a 70-minute set of the best of the best from the Bay Area thrash scene.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
As far as you said, this was Craig's idea, brainchild, or whatever. Is this going to be something like? Will it be like a yearly thing that you guys will get together and do this? And will it have like other rotating thrash musicians kind of come in and out of this? Kind of like, I guess maybe like an all-star game of sorts type of thing.
Well, something that we all kind of said going into, Craig definitely put it out there, is that we don't want to like be Metal Allegiance. The Metal Allegiance tour is already happening. They kind of own that space, but everybody in the Bay Area is like stomping their feet like, okay, great for Holland. What's up, guys? So we are going to do a show here in the Bay Area, probably in late October, and that's kind of the only plan to move forward as far as that goes. So that's kind of the plan, because like Metal Allegiance does a great job with their thing, and they do tour it kind of annually, and it is just I think it would be a bit of a tremendous undertaking to like pull that together every time. So I don't think we're going to do it a whole bunch, but you know what? You never say never, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
When we reached out to you, you mentioned that you were playing with Dopesick. I think you recorded 2 new songs. Can you talk a little bit about that, how you got involved with them? Yeah,
so I've known Adam Albright since about 96, 97. And I just love his style. He's such a, I say he fights the guitar. And I mean that in a good way. I mean, it's like strained and just so physical, and just, you can see he just bleeds for the moment. And I've always wanted to play with him, and it's just never really worked out. And so recently he had a couple songs that he knew were going to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more metal. And he's used a myriad of drummers over the years. And he just said, dude, I just can't, when I'm rehearsing these songs, man, I just can't get you out of my head because I feel this is such your wheelhouse. So would you be down to come down to LA? You know, we'll do it over 2 days. We'll keep it real, like inspired and spur of the moment and fresh. And we'll just like rehearse one day and then we'll go in there and we'll just chop it up. So, I mean, I basically just ran the ball for him. You know, he was telling me, just, you know, kick drums are a little busy on that, you know, pull back. And it was a great kind of, you know, a moment to just kind of like get something done quick, you know, talk the language, you know, kind of, you know, I was really about what he was hearing and what, you know, and I like to do that. You know, I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, I've got it covered. You play guitar. You know, I mean, if somebody's hearing something on the drums or they're feeling a certain vibe or a tempo and stuff, I'm very open to, oh yeah, sure. Let's get your vision out, you know? So that was a blast. And he's going in next week to lay down the guitars, the bass. He's still unsure of who he's going to have sing on it. I know he has some ideas of some people. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out. And I guess those two songs are going to go on the next Dopesick record.
Cool. Oh, fantastic. Well, we've kind of talked about Machine Head ever so briefly, but let's kind of talk about the Burn My Eyes album. You know, were you surprised, you know, looking back on it all these years later, that that Burn My Eyes, you know, has this cult following, and it's, you know, it's revered, and it was considered kind of like groundbreaking for its time. Can you kind of take us back, and, you know, as you look at it now, did you have any idea that it was going to hold the strength today, you know, recording that album?
Right. Well, this is where I kind of have to throw a little humbleness out the window. When I was asked to join that band and I first heard those songs, I knew that Rob really had something going on. And because that 1994 moment was so huge, so many bands came out that year, so many, you know, ultimate records who are, you know, still marked as that moment for that band.
Right.
Pretty quickly, I knew that this record was going to be a benchmark. And I even went into it like, I cannot mess around on this album. I have to pull out all the stops. I have to play at the absolute top of my ability. I really broke my arm trying to make sure that this record was going to capture everything I loved about drumming on albums. And as, you know, I mean, I left the band pretty quick. I mean, me and Rob were two rams on a mountain. We both kind of established ourselves at a young age, and we were set in our ways. So there was that conflict there. But as the record became, you know, the band's almost chalice of blood, I've always been like, yep, that's that record. You know, I can almost remove myself a little bit and say, yep, that record is an absolute motherfucker. And, you know, coupled with, you know, Sepultura and Fear Factory and Nine Inch Nails and, you know, Typo Negative and, you know, Marilyn Manson and Biohazard, and so many bands came out with their stuff that year. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that 94 moment is, you know, revered. I have a Metal Hammer magazine. They did a whole thing on the 1994 moment. The year of Roadrunner, as a lot of people refer to it. So, yeah, coming back for the 25th anniversary was, you know, not only a great opportunity for me and Rob to really exercise all of those demons and get all of that stuff that you push down when you're 23, 24 years old. Mm-hmm. You don't really realize you carry around as baggage, you know? And to get back in the room with him and get that stuff out of the way and set off on a real celebration of that record and put a stamp on the legacy and you know, so many fans that got into, let's say, Machine Head like 5-6 records in, they all go backwards and find the Burn My Eyes album.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, what is this? Like, or the people who did see it and were part of that that movement, especially in Europe, that were like, I was there, I saw you guys open for Slayer, or, you know, I was there, I saw you, you know, on the Obituary Napalm Death tour, we saw your headlining tour after Slayer, you know. That was also great, you know. And then, look, my nickname in that band is General Public. And that's because I'm really into the culture and the meeting of people and hanging with people. I'm a front row fan. I'm an avid drumstick collector. I love to see if I can get the set list. Bit of an autograph hound. So I'm that fan too. And I know that sounds generic, or some people use that as a cliche, but really, I'm still doing stage dives at gigs at 54 years old. You know, I'm still in the pit. I'm front row for Gojira. You know, I'm front row for Napalm Death. If I can't get up there and sing, I'm at least going to be front row. You know, so going back and meeting all those people that I met back in the day, and like, you know, a lot of people, oh, I know you met so many people over the years. Do you remember when we met in, you know, Milan, we went to, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got a bit of an elephant memory, you know. If you breathe in my face, I'm going to remember you for your whole life, right? And so, you know, that was a great thing to go back and do. And then meeting all the new fans, you know, they've got an incredible, the head cases, you know, they've got a great fan base. They're just enthusiastic, really cool people. And, you know, Rob was like, you're going to love it. You know, we have all these fans that have kind of transitioned from fans to friends, this kind of inner circle of the head cases. And I just so thoroughly enjoyed the whole process and the whole, you know, biggest production that the band had ever brought out. I talked Rob into doing pyro. First time I ever got to play on stage with pyro, and I'm an insane Kiss fan. Yeah. So the 12-year-old me was just freaking out getting to be on stage with pyro.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just, you know, there were so many great things about it. And, you know, it was really a shame because we did Europe, we did the States, and then we all caught COVID, and then it was just off.
Yeah.
You know, and we had so much more to do, you know, China, Russia, Ukraine, Scandinavia, Spain, Portugal, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, you know, Australia, South America, Canada, second leg of Europe, second leg of the States. We had so much to do. And so now I call it #30.
Yeah.
Hopefully that they get this record that they had to do out of the way, that we can revisit potentially on the 30th anniversary, because now we're closer to that than we were before. Get back out there and finish that, you know, because we all feel like there was a lot of unfinished business left on the table.
Oh, so cool.
Nice. How many shows did you guys do before it got shut down?
I think we did 27 shows in Europe. I think we played to like 87 or 88,000 people in those days on that tour. And then we came home to the States and did 24 days. You know, the complexion, I mean, I tell people, man, metal and punk and music in general is so fragile in the United States.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up, but it seems to me that music has become more of an accessory than a necessity in a lot of ways. And I think that that's part of like the culture of downloading and streaming, and, you know, convenience can really take a lot out of you. You know, I stood in the rain at the Tower Records to get Back in Black.
Yeah.
You know, I had to stand in line in the blazing sun to get tickets to a concert. And now it's just so easy and so flippant that I don't think there's this, you know, now people wait in line or camp out in front of Apple to get a device.
Yeah.
Right? So they can order tickets in 6 seconds. You know, I was in a smoking section out front of a show, and this guy's looking at his phone. He gets all wide-eyed. He's like, whoa, looks all surprised. I'm like, whoa, what happened? And he goes, oh, I forgot I got Iron Maiden tickets. And I just stood there looking at him. Like, how did you forget that you have Iron Maiden tickets, bro?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's because he bought them in 6 seconds, probably buzzed.
Yeah,
and it's just, done. I got Iron Maiden tickets. I'm going to Kiss, going to Soundgarden, going to, see this show, that show. It's so flippant.
Well, yeah, now you got to buy the tickets sometimes 8 months in advance. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly. Or because, it sells out because of that process. And then you've got all the ticket brokers snatching up tickets too. So the shows sell out, but you really know that it's not all the hardcore fan base of that band buying the tickets.
Exactly.
So, it's strange, with the streaming. I've got a lot of weird feelings about that. Not only the fact that, look, Troy, the bass player for the Boneless One, said, hey, we're doing all right on the digital platforms. We've made 71 cents.
Yeah.
It's 915 plays to make 1 hour of minimum wage in California.
Yeah. Unreal.
It's unreal. And, the dark trick is that the customer feels, they've been told, okay, I'm not stealing the music. I pay my little fee. And, the bands are getting paid, but they don't understand that it's 0.009 of a penny.
Yeah.
Well, on the flip side of that, I have one last question for you. But as we see, buying music, going out and buying a physical, tangible product, going to a record store and buying an album, a CD or whatever, is not within the popular culture of what for young people anymore. That's foreign to them.
Yeah.
Do you ever foresee a day when the physical copy will come back and say, "Hey, this is popular again. We're going to do this. People are going to buy into this again." What are your thoughts?
Right. Well, I've been told that hard disk, we've seen the influx of vinyl again, which is great, right? Because Boneless One just sold out of 500 copies of our vinyl. And I have heard that CD sales and things have started to kind of make a resurgence, so hopefully, sure, it kind of reverts back to that fragility that I was talking about. We're so fragile that, especially in the punk and the metal community, people ought to know that you got to pay for this music. Drumsticks are $12 a pair.
Yeah.
Rehearsal rooms are, $750 to $1,000 a month. It's not cheap to record, it's not cheap to get your album out. So I hope that at some point the tangible, CD or whatever it's going to be will bounce back and there can be some revenue, created, because that's the big hang up with sales of records and then that correlates to the higher ticket sales prices,
right.
the $40 t-shirt, the meet and greet, people think that doing a meet and greet is some kind of extra money, like bonus cash, but it's not. It's the plane tickets. It's the cost of the bus.
Yeah.
It's a directly part of the budget to even make a tour happen. So, things have got to change a little bit if we're going to continue on and be able to survive and bring the tours out onto the road and everything. And now, especially after COVID, so much has changed with visa costs, carnet, the listing of all the gear you're bringing, busing, thousands of bus drivers had to, change from driving buses to commercial distribution jobs. The Visa is not willing to just dole out visas to everybody anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they're asking you questions like, do you have a record deal? What are your projected sales? Kind of like, why are you coming? And do we want you here?
Yeah.
Which is an entirely new landscape.
It absolutely is.
It's a little sketchy, It
is. Well, we're coming down to our allotted time. Is there anything?
All right.
Is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
Yeah, and I don't want to drop it into the sad category, but it's something that is important to me and it's important to the band. We just released our new video, Good Friends, and I was going to say it's about depression and anxiety. And I just want people to know that no matter the lifestyle, no matter where you are in life or anything, you're not alone. The National Suicide Prevention Line just put out 988. And I encourage people to just reach out if they're feeling down, alone, hurting, to reach out to somebody, try to get some help, try to figure things out without hurting yourself or hurting anyone else. And, during the pandemic, I lost a lot of friends to not only, drugs and alcohol, but suicide. And without music, it was a burden on people's psyche and the mental health because we weren't able to get those yah-yahs out, to get those feelings out. So just want to tell people that, Taylor Hawkins, Cornell, Chester, it goes on and on, the list of people who people are like, oh my God, how could that person hurt themselves? They lived such a rock star life or whatever. And whether you're a plumber or, whatever, these things affect us. And I just want people to know that you're not alone. And I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I try to get it out the best I can with meditation, with music, with connectivity to others. So that's kind of what I want people to know, and just to enjoy music, enjoy life, and try to do your best to do the work. And, life isn't easy by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it is not. And thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
So this is how things are going to work. We got about 4 weeks of episodes released before yours. So we're looking at about a month. And when Jeff, the editing wizard here, gets it all cleaned up, we'll send it to you immediately. Please share it on all your socials if you could for us.
Oh, of course. I would be glad to do that, man.
Fantastic. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you guys.
I'll be in touch with you in about a month. Sound good?
Sounds good, man.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You guys take care. Have a great night.
Good night.
wagon says their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from you, then you plug out both their eyes. They roll the dice. Take your chances.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.